And so we'll begin by having Sergeant, the ex-sergeant, I guess, Phil McDowell, who served in the U.S. Army in Iraq and was stop-lost. He wasn't allowed to leave the Army when his tour was over and was redeployed back to Iraq. So he's come to Canada with his wife, Jamim, and please welcome Phil to the stage today. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks for coming out, and thanks for the people in Port Dover to set up the Warriors campaign here, and thanks for having us. My name's Phil McDowell. I'm a former sergeant in the United States Army. I joined the Army originally about a month after September the 11th. I was during my last year at Marist College, a small school in Poughkeepsie, New York, and I was very affected by the events on 9/11 and wanted to do something to help my country, and I joined the Army. I was getting my degree in information technology, so I signed up to do tactical communications networks, and I thought that was the best way I could help out. At that time, there was no war in Iraq yet. We hadn't even been out of the ground in Afghanistan yet, but during my training is when they started to talk about the war to Iraq, the lead up to the war, and I was aware of the international opposition, but I felt that as being a young American that joined the Army, I didn't have this overwhelming need to question the justifications for an invasion. I didn't think that I would be lied to on a scale of that magnitude. So after I finished my training, I got to the First Cavalry Division in Fort Hood, Texas, in 2003, late 2003, 2004, excuse me. And so I deployed to Iraq in February of 2004, and I was there for a year to February 2005. And it was while I was there that I really started beginning to have a strong opposition to the war. I was mostly my time there was in a village called Taji, a little north of the city of Baghdad, and I spent the last few months of my tour in the city of Baghdad. And while I was there, things started coming out in the media, things started coming in the news more often, that they stopped looking for the weapons of mass destruction, and the realization that the connection between Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda was a little absurd. So I think these things started compiling. I started wondering, why are we here? If all the justifications that they gave us to lead up to the war, the weapons of mass destruction, the ties between Saddam Hussein and Al-Qaeda, all these have been false, what's the justification for being here? And I started to ask my superiors, and they were saying that we were here to help the Iraqi people. But those same people that would say we were here to help them, when we went out on convoys in the city, they would tell us to run the civilian cars off the road if they got in our way. I refused to do that. I didn't think it makes sense to punish people because they have a slower car than mine. I couldn't do that. And further on down the road, when I was in the city of Baghdad for a while, it was a very small camp, and it was my communications team and infantry battalion, and I was responsible for maintaining the networks on that camp. And so the soldiers would go out and do raids, patrols in the area, and they would bring back detainees. And these people would be tied up and hooded and laying on the ground of our building for over a day period, day or longer. And I felt that they were being treated inhumanely, and that the soldiers were required to let them use the washroom, but they wouldn't untie their hands from their back, and they wouldn't take their hood off their head. So I didn't hang around to see what the outcome of that was. I felt very disgusted and very connected to what was happening. And I wanted to find out what had these people done to be treated so poorly. And I should have asked some of the soldiers, but being the communications guy, I didn't want to stick my neck out, and it was the end of my tour. But I was friends with a lot of the Iraqi people and the Iraqi interpreters who were working with the troops, and I had asked them, what had these people done? Were they bombing us the other day, or what did they do to be treated like this? And come to find out that the majority of those people that were there had done nothing at all, nothing. They had been in the wrong place at the wrong time and got picked up, and they were being treated like that and shipped off to some other facility. So I think by that point I was very close to the end of my tour, and I was very determined when I get back to the States that I was not going to be part of the war ever again. I didn't want to have anything to do with it. I didn't want to go back at all. I had very strong opposition to what was happening there, and I didn't want to be connected to it whatsoever. So when I came back, I had about a year left in the military, and I was discharged from the United States Army in June of 2006, only to find out about a month later that I was being stop-lost. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with that it's an involuntary recall. where we do have a choice whether you want to stay in the military or not. They make that choice for you. And I was being forced back to Iraq for another 15 months. I tried to talk to my superiors, and they were very well aware of how I felt about the war. I said, is there anything I can do in the States? I'll stay in the Army. I don't want to go back to Iraq. I disagree with it very strongly. They said, no, you don't have a choice. You're going to go whether you like it or not. I tried to contact my elected officials, and they didn't help me at all. I tried to contact civilian military lawyers, and with the time frame that I had with deploying in the next few weeks, they said there's nothing we can do to help you. But I was aware at that time, I was aware of some of the soldiers who were refusing to fight in the war. They were moving to Canada, trying to ask Canadians to let them stay here. And I decided, after much long deliberation with my wife and with my family, and talking to some of the campaigners and organizers, that I wanted to move here and be a part of this, that I felt that strongly about the war that I was going to have to take the step and desert. And it was a very tough decision. I had never broken any laws. I had never done anything wrong. And so in October of 2006, I moved to Toronto, and my wife, Jameen, moved up here about a month after I did. And we've been here ever since then. And we're both working here. I'm a solar contractor, she's a personal trainer. And we made our lives, and we like it here, and we'd like to be able to stay. And so after the motion did pass at the Parliament this week, we're hopeful that the people in Port Dover will let their member of Parliament know that they wish we'd be able to stay here. And that's it. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Phil.